Well, make the most of the mild and spring-like weather that we are seeing in the last couple of days and today, because we do have a trend to colder as we move over the next couple of days. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Hope everybody is well. The sun is shining here in northern UK. Let's have a quick look at the temperatures through the course of today. Starting off this morning at 10 to 4. We had some chilly-ish numbers across the north, but look at this across the bulk of England and Wales. We had temperatures above the 10 Celsius level, and as we progressed through the course of today, we've seen that the temperatures respond quite nicely, especially in any sunshine this afternoon. Temperatures 17, possibly 18 across the south, 10, 11 Celsius across the north, and then as we move to the here and now, we've got the temperatures coming down somewhat. This is the temperatures at the time of recording, and you can see we have got generally mild conditions up and down the country, but we do have cooler air filtering in from the northwest as we push towards Friday and the weekend. This, incidentally, is the current temperatures across the continent, and we have got a coolish theme across Northern Europe, but possibly even you could argue Eastern Europe, but Central and Western Europe is certainly feeling rather spring-like this afternoon, and it's all thanks to the current setup. We've got low pressure to the west southwest, higher pressure over the continent. We're pulling our air in from the southwest, and that is generally always a warm theme. Now, as I said, we have got a trend to colder as we move towards the upcoming weekend here. This is the latest GFS ensemble 2 meter temperature anomalies for the upcoming 5 days. You can see here that we've got either average, slightly above average temperatures across the bulk of the UK and indeed Ireland. The mainland of Europe is warmer than average, but here's the trend, and this is taking us through the weekend and into next week. We've got that downward trend to below average conditions here. And I personally believe that a lot of it is to do with the MJO. We've rotated through the phases of 4 and 5, which were warm phases. In the last week to 10 days, we've had some very mild conditions. Incidentally, this is the current month to date temperature anomalies, and you can see that we have warmer than average temperatures. And I think that theme is likely to continue through the rest of the month. In terms of what I mean by that is that we're going to have a warmer than average March overall, despite the fact that we've got a cooling trend into this week and likely next week. I don't think we're going to turn the warm anomaly around. I also think that this month is panning out not too bad as well. Wetter than average across southern UK, drier than average across the north. Now, it'll be interesting to see the stats when they eventually come out. We've still got a long way to go. We've still got a good, 10, 11 days of March still to go. But I think the overall call for this month has been quite decent. And like I say, this is the MJO now rotating firmly through phases 7 and into 8 in the next few days. And that is generally a phase that promotes blocking across the north. And you can see that that is likely to be the case. Now, let's have a look at the 850 temperatures, because this is quite important. This is the here and now, and we've got cooler air now starting to move into the northern UK. Hence, the colder temperatures. Actually, even at the time of recording, we're seeing the temperatures coming down into single figures, upper single figures at that, across the north, but holding on to something milder across the south. Now, this is off the ECMWF. We'll look at the GFS in just a second here, but you can see that we do have the continuation of this pull of warmer air from the southwest, but with a deep area of low pressure near Iceland. We've got an associated frontal system, and you could literally say that this line here, separating mild from cold, that is essentially your cold front. That is going to move southeast through the course of later tomorrow and tomorrow night. And then, as you can see, that we are going to start to tap something colder from Greenland. Obviously, that air mass moderates significantly as it comes off the cold ice cap of Greenland, moves over not only warmer than average ocean temperatures, but also the strength of the sun as that air mass moves south into warmer climes. It really does lose intensity quite a bit. But you notice here as we progress through the course of this weekend, we maintain that northwesterly airflow, hence the colder than average temperatures overall. And then we've got an area of low pressure that kind of tries to nudge in from the south, and this is where it could get quite interesting in the early next week. And we'll look at the overview chart in just a second, but we've got an area of low pressure that may be trying to draw something milder from the south, but then colder air on the northern flank may promote something in the way of hill snow, North Wales, northern England, and higher ground of Scotland. We may get a smidgen of a chance of seeing something wintry out of this scenario. And then as we play through the ECMWF, you can see that the 850s maintain rather cool temperatures through the course of next week. And then it gets quite interesting towards the second half of next week, which is a long way out. We're going to still have to monitor this quite carefully. We have this continued battle between warm and cold. At the very end of the ECM run, this is next Saturday, you can see here that we've got an area of low pressure to the west-northwest. To the east of those systems, we've got milder air getting drawn northwards up into Central Europe. Meanwhile, we've got colder air getting drawn down over the Atlantic to the west of these lows. And the critical aspect about this is going to be the positioning of these lows, possibly even how deep the low as well is may have to get taken into consideration with regards to the distribution of warm and cold. But this is always a dynamic time of the year. Every time of the year is dynamic, but at this time of the year in particular, it can be quite tricky. You have to factor in other aspects such as the length of daylight, strength of the sun, etc., etc. Adds complexity to the overall situation. Let's have a look at the ECMWF overview chart here. Back to the here and now. We've got that system that has been dragging moisture in from a south to southwesterly direction, mild to the south, something cooler to the north. We are likely to see a frost in northern areas through the course of tonight, but then we've got the next system moving in, associated with a very deep area of low pressure at sub 960 millibars over Iceland. Lots of heavy snowfall, very strong winds associated with this as well. And we are going to see the winds increase across northern and western UK and Ireland through the course of tomorrow and into Friday. And then as we move into the day on Friday, you can see that area of low pressure starts to drop southwards. There's that area of high pressure, gets shunted to the west, northwest of the British Isles, and then we're in this northwesterly airflow. Showery, windy, and also rather chilly as well. Quite a strong northwesterly wind. We are likely to see coastal gales from this, and we also are going to see wintry precipitation above, say, 200 or 300 meters. So, especially during the dark hours of night, albeit the nights are increasingly short now. And then as we push towards the Friday and into the weekend, you can continue to see this northwesterly airflow, very showery indeed. And we are going to see possibly some hail and thunder mixed in with that instability within the atmosphere associated with that low. When you've got cold air getting drawn in and you've got the strength of the sun at this time of the year, deep area of low pressure, you've got quite a lot of instability within the atmosphere as well, and that can cause thunderstorm increased risk, or at least within those showers as they get whipped in on that northwesterly wind. You can get sometimes rattles of thunder and flashes of lightning associated with that as well. So let's have a look and see what the GFS is indicating here for the same time frame. Let's look at the 850s first, like we did with the ECMWF, and we can see what it's showing here in terms of the 850 temperature profile. This gives us a rough idea exactly what we're talking about. So back to here now, you can see the last surge of milder conditions moving in from a southwesterly direction. There's that deep area of low pressure just to the east of Iceland, drawing in that cold air from Greenland out over the North Atlantic and across the UK here, sweeps out that mild air mass that's in place over the UK at the moment here. And then as we progress through the course of the weekend here, Yeah, it's marginal colder within the mid levels of the atmosphere, nothing significant, so I don't expect to see anything particularly cold during the daytime. Overnight temperatures are likely to go close to freezing, if not below, especially in rural areas. And then as we continue to play right the way through next week, we're in the chilly air. We don't have anything particularly mild in place, so temperatures are going to be kept at bay, hence why the GFS ensemble is indicating below average temperatures through the course of next week. And then this is Easter Sunday, so this is the big day itself. It looks like we've got a reasonably cool air mass in place, nothing exceptional, and there's a big, big fight between the two. Milder, not overly far to the south, some very colder, not overly far to the north here, and I think it's still all to play for with the Easter weekend. And then the latest run of the GFS operational indicates that we're back in mild southwesterly winds as we move into the early portions of April. Then in comes something colder once again, so you can see the back and forth in terms of the air mass itself. So, latest Arctic oscillation is expected to go slightly positive, then it's to go quite firmly negative, as you can see here, probably indicative of that phase 7-8 of the MJO. The NAO isn't overly enthusiastic with a negative, but nonetheless, it is trending slightly below the neutral line here. So, yeah, chilly end to the week. Through the course of the weekend, it looks as if we'll maintain a rather unsettled and chilly final week of March. Then it's all to play for as we step into the month of April. Finally, let's have a very quick look at the precipitation, because we really are fed up with the amount of rain, aren't we, in recent times here in the UK. I thought I would finish today's video by looking at the CFSV2 precipitation forecast for the month of April. And again, this is kind of going back and forth. Now, I am going to start looking in a more formal sense at the summer forecast coming up, by the way. So if you are interested in the summer forecast, stick around, like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill. And also hit that subscribe button if you want to start to follow the ideas that I'm going to start to build with regards to the overall summer idea. I'm going to also try and do a small US summer forecast and also an Atlantic hurricane season forecast in the coming 4 to 8 weeks ahead. So plenty of reasons to stick around here on the channel. But this is the month of April according to CFSV2. Looks as if Ireland is wetter than average, and parts of southern and southwestern UK is wetter than average, drier than average across northern areas. That would suggest to me that low pressures to the south, high pressures to the north. If we look at the 500 millibar height anomaly chart, you can see what the model is indicating here. Lo and behold, we've got an area of low pressure in the southwest, higher pressure over the continent and to the north of the UK here. Let's go back to the precipitation. The temperature anomaly, you're not really going to be overly surprised at what this is going to show, warmer than average. Back to the precipitation, and let's look and see what May is looking like. So it's actually slightly wetter than average, which is quite interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if that was a thundery wetter than average month for the British Isles. If we look at the 500 millibar for the month of May, you can see here that we've actually got an area of low pressure focused across southern UK and into northern France, which is quite interesting. Let's have a look and see what the early summer is suggesting of the model. Again, slightly wetter than average, which is quite interesting. For July, wetter than average. And then for August, is suggesting somewhat drier than average conditions across the UK. But this is a quick skim over. We will be looking at this in more and more detail, looking at the transition between El Nino and La Nina, the record warm sea surface temperatures, what influence is that having, the solar maximum that we're likely in at the moment. It could have actually already peaked. It could be peaking, or it might just be about to peak. That has to get taken into consideration as well. Rainfall distribution, not only through the course of the winter just gone, but through the springtime. Spring rainfall can be critical in terms of how much moisture you get into the soil, how much feedback that wet or dry soil has on the atmosphere has an impact. Also, These are all things that are going to be getting looked at in the coming weeks and next month or so ahead as well. So stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll hopefully be back again tomorrow with more. And in the coming days, I will have an official Easter 2024 weekend forecast available on Marvel and Weather, so stay tuned for that as well. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.